This guy is running in the New Jersey primary this Tuesday. His opponent is Chris Christie. He's been heard on talk radio programs all throughout South Jersey. You may know him from his website, libertyandprosperity.org. He writes for numerous papers. He's been traveling the state, and his platform is restoring Republican principles. Let's just bring Seth Grossman on right now. Seth, thanks for joining Brigantine Now Radio.
Good morning.
Also, congratulations. It seems like, well, you're getting more media attention now. Even the Philadelphia Inquirer is now covering you in the final days before the primary, huh?
That was a real breakthrough because we've been pretty much bottled up in what we call the ghetto, the Tea Party ghetto, and the Philadelphia Inquirer and the Asbury Park Press just in the last few days were the first ones to actually give mainstream media attention to the campaign, and it's very exciting.
Well, why do you think the Philadelphia Inquirer, which some would consider to be a left-leaning publication, why would they now give you some spotlight now?
Well, I think that we've been so active they could not ignore us anymore. Same thing with the Asbury Park Press. There are just too many people talking about us.
Well, Seth Grossman, would you consider Christie a rhino, a Republican in name only?
I don't even know if you could call him a Republican. Yes, he's in the Republican Party, but it's just no coincidence that he has latched on to Barack Obama, because Barack Obama and Chris Christie are so similar in so many ways. They have far more in common with each other.
Would that explain how Christie was able to become the governor of a very blue state of New Jersey?
You know, I don't buy that at all. That it's not like New Jersey is was born to be a blue state. New Jersey was a very conservative state. Voted for Ronald Reagan in the 1980s. Put in a Republican governor. What we had Republicans who betrayed the voters of New Jersey time after time again. You do the history ever since the first Democrat, Richard Hughes, back in the 1960s, gave us our first sales tax. The voters rebelled, put in Republicans, and all the Republican governors did was give us more borrowing, more debt, and more taxes. I mean, the Republicans in Atlantic County were never principled conservative Republicans. It was all about grabbing the power so you could grab the contracts, grab the money, grab the jobs. And in Brigantine in particular, the big powerhouse of Brigantine politics was always Ed Klein of Klein Construction Company, which depended on these big union-built projects. Even though Republicans in Atlantic County and Brigantine in particular have the name Republican, they really have this Godfather, soprano, mafia mentality of I do you a favor, you do me a favor, pay to play, which is really repulsive to Republican principles.
Didn't Governor Christie have some type of cap in place? Can you explain a little bit? Because in Brigantine right now, we're confused. Democrats just voted in a 7% tax increase. How did they do that?
Well, it's very easy, because Christie's cap was nothing but a joke, a fraud, and a flim-flam to begin with. Because there are certain structural things that are causing these tax hikes. Number one, you have every public employee, every public school employee is forced by state law to join at least one public employee union. Teachers are forced to join 3 unions. The other reason for the tax hikes, by the way, is the fact that the property values in New Jersey are plummeting. And as the whole tax base was built on the casinos in Atlantic City, paying like 60–70% of the county tax, and all your fancy beachfront homes in Brigantine subsidizing everybody else. But as the value of those things plummeted, everybody else has to pick up their share. So it's like a perfect storm, creating a real disaster for taxpayers in South Jersey. I think that Barack Obama and Chris Christie hyped up and exaggerated the effects of the storm here in Atlantic City, Brigantine, and South Jersey, precisely for the reason of creating this emergency so they could show their importance, how you can't live without these politicians, how we couldn't exist without this federal aid. when in fact Sandy, I know, was more severe up in the northern end of the state, but down here, you know, every 25 to 30 years we get a severe coastal storm like Sandy. We had a bad storm in 1938, in 1944, in 1962, in 1991, and Sandy was not all that different. And you know, you get flooded. You expect to get flooded when you live this close to the ocean or the bay. You want the enjoyment and the recreation and the breeze and all the good things that come with it. But you have to accept the fact that, again, every 25 to 30 years, you're going to have a storm and you're going to have to rebuild, and it's not a national crisis, and you don't have to bring in the President of the United States.
The city of Brigantine, 60% of the revenues brought in through taxables, through the ratables, 60% of our budget goes towards employees. How does a city, how do they get up every morning and feel good about themselves knowing that 60% of every dollar goes towards paying employees with pensions, insurance, benefits, salaries, etc.? How do they get away with that?
Well, that's very common here at the shore. And the short answer is they do it because they can get away with it, because Brigantine, along with, say, Longport, Ocean City, Avalon, Sea Isle City, Stone Harbor, I'd say maybe half to two-thirds of the homes are owned by summer residents who don't have kids in the school system. And because you don't have kids in the school system, which is the biggest expense of a community, that way the taxes don't seem that bad and compared to other places, and that's how politicians get away with it. And the other answer is what you have taxation without representation and representation without taxation, meaning that the people who pay most of the taxes are business people and out-of-town folks who can vote, but they pay most of the taxes, and the handful of people who do vote, most of them, or not most of them, but a lot of them have a relative or a friend or a spouse that has one of these soft city hall jobs. So come election day, they'll crank out the vote and get all their friends and neighbors to vote to put them back in. So it's a very, very common and easy to understand racket they got going.
What happens when almost 3/4 of the taxpayers can't vote? What do we have to do to acknowledge that that's becoming insane, that most of the people that pay taxes can't vote?
So once you know what the rules of the game are, what you can do is this. For many people who live in Philadelphia or Cherry Hill and they have homes in Brigantine, the voter laws are very liberal and are construed that your residence is really a matter of intention. So you could really have a husband and wife, have the husband vote in Cherry Hill and the wife can vote down here, or the other way around, as long as you spend substantial amount of time here and you sign a declaration that I intend this to be my home. The second thing is it's very easy to influence votes even if you don't physically cast a vote yourself. So if people have such a substantial investment in Brigantine, and really the taxes are really reaching a point of confiscation where you will actually lose your investment if we don't get these taxes under control, then maybe it should motivate you to pay attention to the local politics, to invest maybe $50 or $100 a year towards political contributions targeted towards candidates who are going to protect your interest as a taxpayer.
Seth Grossman is running in the primary for governor of New Jersey. The primary is this Tuesday, and here in Brigantine, 3 different places where you can cast your vote. Let me wrap this up. Is there one thing that you could share with the listeners here on Brigantine Now Radio? Is there something that Brigantiners, both full-time and part-time residents, the voters, the taxpayers, what does Brigantine need to know that probably the media has not shared with them?
Just a feeling that the most discouraging thing when I dealt with Brigantine and the Brigantine taxpayer organizations is when anyone says, I'm paying too much in property taxes. Instead of saying, okay, we're paying too much in property taxes because the government's spending too much money, you hardly ever hear that. You hear people say, I'm paying too much in property taxes, so let's have a new tax on somebody else so I can get a break. It's that pay-to-play mentality that I want a friend in government who's going to give me a favor at the expense of somebody else.